The soft, cold evening wind carried with it the scent of damp earth. Anna was sitting on a park bench, her eyes fixed on a distant point, as if there lay the answer to something she could not even explain. Her posture was tired, her shoulders hunched over from the burden she had been carrying for so long. People passed by in a hurry, but she was somewhere else, lost in the depths of her own thoughts. The shadows of the trees were slowly lengthening, and the sky, previously clear, was beginning to take on orange and purple hues. In her hands, a crumpled, almost invisible note echoed the decision she had been putting off for days. The text on it was simple yet profound. It's time to move on. She knew that this was the last time she would sit here, in that place where so many memories had been formed, to say goodbye to a part of herself. Anna had decided she was going to leave everything behind. The pain, the empty house, the lifeless spaces, everything. She felt like there was nothing left for her in that place. The future seemed distant and hazy, like an endless road, but still she felt like she had to keep going. Like a wind that pushes without reason just to go. But then, in the heavy silence of her decision, a faint bark cut through the air. The sound came from a distant point behind a nearby wall. A low bark, almost imperceptible, but one that somehow made Anna's heart beat faster. She stood still. The world around her seemed to disappear. The crumpled note in her hand became heavy, almost unbearable. The barking sounded again, this time clearer, louder, as if it was crying out for attention. Anna turned slowly, her eyes searching for the source of the sound. And for a brief moment, the weight of the decision seemed to hang in the air. Something made her stop. Something she still couldn't understand. The faint barking persisted, and Anna didn't know what to make of it. Her eyes, which had previously been fixed on what seemed like the void of the future, were now fixed on that sound. It wasn't coming from far away, but from something so close that she had never noticed it. Behind the wall that delimited the park. She hesitated. She let the note slowly slip from her hands and, without knowing why, stood up. The movement was heavy, as if her body resisted the action. She had lived the last few months in a state of numbness, with the emptiness of what she had lost slowly consuming her. Anna's life before had been one of simple, welcoming routine. She had a home full of laughter, of small moments and memories. But then something changed. An event, a sudden silence, an absence that dragged on with the weight of an unmade decision. Anna had lost something far more valuable than anything material. She had lost her will to live. She didn't know what to do with the pain that settled in her chest and turned her days into an endless repetition. Each step she took seemed like an attempt to move forward, but deep down, she felt stagnant, paralyzed, incapable of taking the next step. Her decision to leave was a reflection of this, an attempt to escape the pain and longing, but also to escape from herself. With slow steps, she approached the wall. The barking continued, but now it seemed louder, as if the dog behind it knew she was coming. As Anna approached the small, rusty iron gate, she felt a chill run down her spine. The wind blew harder, and the sound of the barking became clearer, more urgent. She peered through the bars, her eyes focused, trying to see beyond the late afternoon gloom. And then, she saw him. A small, dirty, skinny dog stood there. His eyes, large and expressive, fixed on her with disconcerting intensity. He was trapped behind the wall, but his presence seemed immense, as if his gaze carried the weight of a lifetime. He didn't move, just watched her with a mixture of vulnerability and hope. Anna stood there, not knowing what to do. Her eyes began to water. What she saw was not just an abandoned dog. It was a reflection of her own loneliness, of her own pain. A lost being, searching for something or someone to hold on to. She bent down, almost without realizing it, and put her hand through the bars. The little dog approached slowly and sniffed the palm of her hand. The touch of his nose was soft, almost like a silent plea. He was there, waiting just like she was, waiting to be found, waiting for someone to save him. Anna felt something change inside her, a lightness she didn't know existed, a thread of connection, tenuous and almost imperceptible, but that began to grow, like a timid flame that reemerges from the darkness. Maybe the pain she carried was more than the end of something. Maybe it was also the beginning of something new. Something she didn't yet understand, but that she felt deeply in every cell of her being. Time seemed to stretch, as if the world around her had slowed down. Anna stood there, her hand outstretched, feeling the gentle touch of the dog's nose. Her body, previously so closed, so rigid, now seemed to give way, as if a door she had carefully locked from the inside was beginning to open. The dog, small and fragile, took a step forward, placing a paw on Anna's hand. His eyes were fixed on her, and the silence between them carried a silent tension, an exchange of energies that she could not explain, but which she felt intensely. The connection between them was immediate and deep, as if the time Anna had spent away from herself and everything she had once loved could be counted in seconds. The dog did not need words. He already understood what she felt. Anna felt a small tear escape her eyes, slowly sliding down her cheek. She didn't know why she was crying, but that moment, that simple gesture of the dog accepting her touch, seemed to dilute all the pain she had carried alone for so long. She bent down once more, her hand now gently stroking the dog's fur, and her chest tightened as if something was beginning to collapse inside her. The dog, so vulnerable and yet so strong, seemed to have come from somewhere beyond the simple need for food or shelter. He was a reminder, perhaps, that there was still something good in the world. Something pure and simple that required no more than a gesture of love and acceptance. He was there, waiting for her, and in such a small moment Anna felt as if he was the one who was there to save her. She didn't know where the dog came from or what had happened to him before that moment, but something inside Anna told her that he needed her as much as she needed him. The bark that had previously seemed like a weak and distant sound now became something deeper, a silent but clear message. The dog wasn't there just to be physically rescued. He was there to rescue something in Anna, something she didn't know she had lost, but that, when she looked into those sincere eyes, she felt was the key to healing the pain she carried. For a moment, Anna wondered what she would do. She could go on her way, go ahead with her plan to leave everything behind. She could follow the path she had traced, as she had done so many times before, moving away from what made her feel, moving away from what she didn't understand. But in that moment, she knew she couldn't do it anymore. The dog, in his fragility, was offering her something she thought she had lost forever. The chance to reconnect with the world, with life. She stood up slowly with a sense of resolute understanding. The dog wasn't there just by chance. He was there as a sign that maybe it was time to heal, to start over, to allow herself to feel again. She returned home with the dog by her side, now stronger and more confident. The animal, once so suspicious and fearful, seemed to feel the same. He walked beside her with firmer steps, as if mutual trust was being built in the silence between them. When she opened the door to her house, she felt a shiver, but not of fear, but of anticipation. Something was about to change. And perhaps the greatest transformation would not only be his, but hers as well. In the days that followed, Anna and the dog, whom she named Max, began to understand each other. The changes were not immediate, but something deeply silent began to happen between them. What began as a small gesture of empathy and care expanded into something larger, more complex. Anna woke up each day with a lightness she hadn't experienced in months. The house, which had been a quiet, heavy place, was now filled with sounds. The rustle of leaves falling from the tree in the backyard, the sound of the wind blowing through the windows, and of course Max's soft bark, which for the first time seemed at peace. He no longer hid his gaze when she approached. His eyes were trusting, alert, and perhaps most surprisingly, Anna also began to feel more alive, more present. But like any true transformation, the path was not without obstacles. As the days passed, Anna began to realize something disconcerting. Every time she got close to Max, a feeling of vulnerability arose in her chest. He, who had previously seemed so distant, so lost, was now becoming a part of her life. And this made her question, was she ready to open up again? To love someone, to care about another being again at the risk of getting hurt once again? There were times when Anna would look at Max and feel a subtle ache in her heart, an echo of what she still carried inside, the fear of getting attached and eventually losing it, the fear that by opening up to him she would somehow be exposing herself too much. And Max, for his part, had his own insecurities. Although he trusted Anna now, he still carried the scars of his past. He would be startled by loud sounds, by sudden movements, and sometimes when he looked at her, his gaze would become distant, as if he were searching for a way to protect himself. These small moments of uncertainty, of hesitation, became critical points in her journey. Anna felt a natural urge to pull away, to return to the safety of solitude she knew, but something inside her stopped her. Max was not just a dog. He represented more than that. He was an opportunity to reconnect with the world, with others, and even with herself. The healing process was far from linear. Sometimes Anna would watch Max and wonder what he had been through before he got to this point. Maybe he had been abandoned, neglected, or even mistreated. And somehow she saw herself reflected in him. Like Max, she too carried scars, not visible ones, but deep ones that had formed over time. She knew he was still afraid, but he was willing to trust her, and that gave her a strength she didn't know she had. It was a paradox of trust and fear, of attachment and freedom. But even with these small cracks, something undeniable was happening. Little by little, Max was becoming more self-assured. He approached Anna with more confidence, without the fear of being rejected. He sat next to her, his head resting on her legs, as if silently asking for her presence. And Anna, in turn, felt that something was healing inside her, even if she couldn't yet name exactly what it was. But there was still the biggest challenge looming. Although their relationship was blossoming, something bigger was about to happen. Something that would test everything they had built up to that point. The real transformation, the real test, was about to happen. Summer was beginning to give way to fall, and with it, a quiet change was happening in Anna and Max's lives. The house, which had once seemed like a place of solitude, was now filled with soft laughter, quick footsteps, and soft barks. Anna found herself smiling as Max ran around the yard, happy to be there, finally belonging in a safe place. They were discovering themselves together, and with each passing day, the barrier between her and the world was fading away. The fear that had once gripped her was slowly being replaced by a new feeling, something she didn't know how to deal with: hope. But as with all great stories, the true transformation would not be without pain. One morning, when Anna opened the door to leave, she found Max lying motionless on the floor. His body was tense and his breathing shallow. Panic took hold of her in an instant. She ran to him, calling out to him, but Max did not respond. His eyes were dull, and fear spread through Anna like an icy wave. She knew what this meant. Max was sick. Something was very wrong. With trembling hands, she picked him up and rushed him to the vet. The waiting room seemed endless, each second dragging by, and Anna couldn't stop looking at the dog, frail and weak in her arms. Her thoughts revolved around everything he meant to her. He was the cure, the confidence, the new beginning. But what now? He who had come to her to save her soul was now fighting for her life. The diagnosis was devastating. Max was terminally ill, and the vet explained that there was nothing much that could be done. He would be happy as long as he lived, but the time he had left would be short. The weight of those words was overwhelming. Anna felt her world fall apart again. How could she lose Max? He was the only reason she still believed in something bigger, something more beautiful. He was proof that even the darkest moments could be brightened by a simple act of love. That night, as Max lay beside her, Anna felt a deep ache, but also a clarity. What she had with Max was not something that could be measured by time. What she felt for him was not limited to a lifeline, but a connection that went beyond the physical, beyond flesh and bone. They had found each other, transformed each other, and even if he was gone too soon, the impact he would have on her life would be eternal. She knew she had to be strong for him, but she also knew that this moment of loss was, paradoxically, a moment of healing. She could no longer hide from the pain. She had to accept it, experience it, and allow it to be part of her healing journey. The love, the sacrifice, the loss, they were all part of being human, and she now understood that there was nothing more beautiful than allowing herself to feel them. In the days that followed, Anna cared for Max with a patience and dedication she had never known she possessed. They spent hours together on the couch, Max resting in her lap, and Anna whispering to him words that were no longer of fear or regret, but of gratitude. Gratitude for all that he had brought into her life, for all that they had shared. And at the same time, she felt a kind of gratitude for the pain, because it was the pain that made her feel, that connected her to the reality of life and death, of love and loss. One afternoon, when Max was at his weakest, he crawled to the window and looked out at the garden as if to absorb the beauty of the moment. Anna watched him in silence, feeling a mixture of sadness and peace. She knew that this was the last chapter of their journey, but this chapter was not a story of farewell. It was a story of transformation, of redemption, of love that transcends time. Max looked at her, and for a brief moment their eyes met. There was no fear, no sadness, just a silent understanding that they had fulfilled their mission for each other. And with a final soft breath, Max closed his eyes. It was not a painful departure, but a peaceful farewell. He had fulfilled his purpose. Anna stood there, her hands on his body, feeling the calm of his soul next to hers. She knew that even though he was physically gone, the love he gave her would never leave her. He had taught her that time was not the most important thing. What mattered was the transformation that happened while love was lived, while connections were made. The sky was tinged with the soft golden light as Anna sat beside Max, her body still warm beneath her hands. The autumn leaves danced in the wind, slowly falling like golden rain around them. It was as if the world itself was stopping to fall silent, respecting the stillness of this moment. Anna knew the pain wouldn't go away immediately, nor would the emptiness Max had left. But there was something else, something she couldn't fully explain. It was as if the love he had given her, the healing he had brought to her soul, had left an everlasting mark. A mark not visible to the eye, but one she felt with every beat of her heart. Time passed in a strange way. It no longer passed as it had before. Every moment was now filled with memories of Max, with his laughter and his running through the hallways of the house. But more than that, it was a feeling of depth, as if time had stretched, lengthened, so that Anna could reflect on everything she had experienced with her canine friend. She thought about how the simplest moments, the ones when nothing seemed to happen, were actually the most precious. The days when Max would cuddle in her lap, the peaceful walks, the quiet afternoons in the garden. These were the moments that now, looking back, seemed to be the most meaningful of her life. Anna was no longer alone, not in the physical sense, but in a deeper emotional way. She knew that in some way Max would always be a part of her, and what he had taught her was something she now understood clearly: the value of true connection and unconditional love. He had been more than a dog. He had been a teacher, a guide, a soulmate. And when he left Anna not only the pain of loss, but an inner strength, a renewed confidence in the power of love. In the months that followed, Anna slowly started over again. She began to take new steps toward her life, toward a future where, although she missed Max, she knew there was something even greater: the transformation he had brought about in her. She allowed herself to feel the emptiness, but also the beauty that had emerged from her journey with him. She found new friendships, and even the small details of her daily life seemed more colorful, more alive. She had learned to see life from a different perspective, one of gratitude, acceptance, and a deep connection with everything around her. And on every street she walked, in every new friendship that emerged, she felt Max's presence. Not in physical form, but in the form of a love that knows no limits, that needs no words. Just a look, a memory, a feeling as gentle as the late afternoon breeze. Anna was no longer alone. She had found, through Max, a path to her own healing. And even though he was gone, his mission was accomplished. He had saved her from herself, and now she was ready to move on, with a renewed faith in the beauty of life, in the power of silent transformations, and in the eternal return of love. Looking at the horizon with the sun setting in the sky, Anna smiled. It was a farewell, but also a celebration. It celebrated love, healing, transformation, and hope that somehow was renewed every day. Because in the end, life is made up of encounters and farewells. But what really matters is what legacy we leave in the hearts of others. And at that moment, Anna knew that Max's legacy would be eternal. Their story didn't end there. It just continued in a different way. A richer, deeper way. Because sometimes you have to lose something to truly understand what it meant. And even though Max was gone, he had left Anna not only the memories of a pure love, but the certainty that, in the end, the most important thing is not how much time we spend together, but what we do with the time we have. And so Anna walked forward with tears in her eyes, but a lighter heart, as if the wind itself was telling her, all you need is to trust and move forward. If this story touched your heart, just imagine how many more are still to come. Here, every bark carries a new beginning, a second chance, a brand new life. If you believe in the power of dogs to change destinies, like mine, like yours, then subscribe to the channel and leave a like, because together we'll share stories the world needs to hear and feel.